Steven, I think they're ready for us. You ready?
Yep.
So, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of We Got Next. This episode kind of is going to hit home for us just because of everything that's happened today in the world. We're going to try to sway away from the flight that went to Antigua because we don't want to get shadow banned or anything. But other than that, Steven, I think we're just going to dive right into the hot take. And we clearly have to bring up the elephant in the room that happened 3 o'clock this morning in our backyards, literally yours, but the bridge and the cargo ship or whatever type of carrier ship you want to call it. What are your initial thoughts on that? I know we talk about sports and finance, but we always talk about where we're from. And I know I've gotten text, so I assume some people have at least texted you saying, "Yo, did you hear about what happened?"
You're the only person that's texting me about it,
Right.
to be honest with you. And that was at like what, 7 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
Um, I, I had no knowledge of what had happened prior to reading your text. So when I read your text, all it said was, "You see the key bridge." I think that's what you said.
Hmm.
So I knew instantly it was either like a fire or something destroyed the bridge or it collapsed. There's
Hmm.
really like, why else would you text me about that?
Yeah.
So then I saw the video and it was, yeah, pretty insane. Like it sucks that it happened, obviously, but I think it's um really great it didn't happen at like between like 6 and
Rush
8
hour.
a.m. or like
Oh my God.
4 and 6 p.m. So I guess when you look at it that way, we got lucky, but there's
Yeah.
still people missing, all that. So, hopefully that goes well. I have to talk about that. But yeah, that was nuts. Like, and then Twitter's just like, today was a crazy day on Twitter.
Yo,
Crazy. Like
it was.
crazy. Like and all like in like real life shit that happened, and then there's like the Diddy stuff. And like
Yes.
that's real life, but like just like what the fuck, man? Like
Yes.
what kind of day is today? Um, so yeah, that totally caught me off guard, both those things. And the NFL snuck in a rule change on kickoffs
Yo,
like mid like
it really
midday,
slid that in.
like
Yes.
midday, midday after a bridge collapse, like a major like port in the United States,
Hmm.
and one of the most well-known music artists in the world in the last like
Hmm.
20 years, and P. Diddy has his house raided.
Yo, both of them.
And then he's off on a plane somewhere and he's in Miami and there's flights going here and there and no one knows what's going on. But today was a hell of a day for a ton of different reasons. I have some shit going on I told you
Yeah.
about. Like today was just a day. Just a day. I'm
Yes.
so glad. Well, kind of not really. I wish today there was games on tonight. Like the NCAA tournament was tonight.
We
Just
were,
like,
yeah.
okay, cool. We can lock in on that and just focus on that. Because
Because,
they're not going to talk about either one of those things during the broadcast, right?
no.
And that's the only thing that would have made today more like manageable. Was if
Yes.
there's NBA games on tonight, but like, right, it's March Madness, so that would be a win
Hmm.
for everybody. But man, yeah, that was nuts. That Birds thing was crazy.
So, the couple of things I have to bring up, even if we take one step back before the bridge collapse. So, we had the bridge collapse, we had the Diddy thing. Then, for anyone that focuses on the royal family, then you had Kate Middleton with like cancer. And I'm like, yo, all of this. And the wild part is, I went on Twitter for 2 seconds at work because I don't get to get on as much now. And you randomly see the kickoff change. And you're just like, hold up.
Like
It
midday.
wasn't midday. Yeah, it was just like, oh, this is what we're gonna do. Everything else, you heard them say, oh, this is what's gonna happen. And I didn't hear about it because of the announcement. I heard about it to say, let's see the top 10 best kickoff returns as we remember it. And I was like, what? And of course, you see Devin Hester.
And then yesterday you had the continuation of the Shohei Ohtani news
Yo,
with his press conference.
yes.
So if that happened today, that would have been pretty. That would have just been
Oh
icing on the
my,
cake. But the NFL thing is a big change. That's a huge rule change.
yes.
Because the last however many years the kickoff has been eliminated essentially. And this, I don't know if you watched those games with the XFL or AFL or whatever it is
Hmm.
that did that. Like it worked out pretty well. Like
It did.
I don't think there was like any major injuries. Um, like concussion worthy and all that kind of stuff. But like there was like exciting plays, and it's like it was I'm happy with the rule change. I think that's actually one of the better ones. The hip drop tackle was implemented as a
What are your
15-yard
thoughts on
penalty,
that?
automatic first down. That can go either way. I mean, like the one on Mark Andrews, like I get it. You played, I played. Like I feel like they're like you just don't take in like a human element with like that split second of tackling. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're literally taught to get this person to the ground by any means necessary. Like any way. Can you hear me? Am I good?
Yep. No, you're good.
Okay. Any way you can get any way person A can get person B on the ground, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't go in tackling with the intent of hurting them because if that happens, likely chances are likely you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So the rule change, like you can tell that like some of them are super aggressive. But the one on Mark Andrews, for example, like he's trying. Wilson was trying to make a tackle. Like he's trying
Yeah.
to make a tackle, and it just the way the body works, the way you're going this way and going that way, 100 miles an hour. Big boys, yeah, dude, it's gonna happen. Like, but it's football though.
Yep.
Funny story. Mason had his last day of flag football last Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
He had 4 touchdowns, by the way.
What?
And the game-saving tackle as well. So shout out to the homie.
Gang
But
shout
the, like
out.
you know this as well as anybody actually better than I do. There are some like Mason's 5 and he's not that big. There are some
Yeah,
big kids who are 5
they are.
and who just can't like you know what I mean? Like they just cannot control those kids are cannot control their body in any capacity. And
Mm-hmm.
it's amplified when that kid is a little bit bigger and he's running over kids who are the size of my son, who's I guess a normal size 5-year old. But this
Yeah.
kid's like slide tackling and kind of like getting aggressive with the kids on the other team. But it's like there was one play where the kid on the team cut back and ran into this kid, and it's like probably running into Derrick Henry, you know. And they both kids go down. The one kid hurts his shoulder, and the coaches and the ref were mad. Like coach on the other team, the ref were mad at like our player for like being too aggressive. But it's like at the end of the day, like moral of the story is it's football. This shit is going to happen. These tackles are
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. The head-on collisions, like in that instance, you like there's nothing you can do. It just happens. And you know, the more they change, like the more it's really going to become just flag football. And they're taking away, like they're taking away money from defensive players only, really.
That's really what they're doing. They're
I
making
mean,
an offensive
if
game.
you're gonna start doing it for defense, do it for offense, and start calling holding on left tackles, because Donovan
Mm-hmm.
Smith would be out of a job. My man would
Yeah.
be fined 7 times a game, 16 games a year, or 17 games a year.
Yes.
And then they're talking about safety, and they want to add in another game. Like
They're honestly money driven.
that's so
All
stupid.
of it you could definitely tell is money driven, and they don't really care. It's so weird because if you look at the direction of the NBA compared to the NFL cares so much about offense, 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 and safety supposedly, but they want money. The NBA is like, nah, fam, we got to figure out a way to bring this defense back because
Yeah.
what the heck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the other part is one makes so much more money than the
Yes.
other does.
Facts.
And that's the other
Facts.
part you have to think about. It's getting to the point of leaning towards the entertainment side instead of the sport that we kind of knew side. Because you look at, if you remember, the one of the most famous plays was T.O., the horse collar on T.O.
Yep.
and like how he got
Yep.
injured. They got rid of that. If you think about the tuck rule with Tom Brady, took care of that whole thing. If you then think about this rule now with the hip drop tackle, they're taking out that, and they always want to bring up the defensive side, but then they fail to sometimes bring up when DK Metcalf technically did it when he was chasing down on the
15-yard
Cardinals.
penalty on that play then.
Yeah. So, and that changes a lot there. The last thing I wanted to bring up, well, two things I want to bring up in the NFL before we end up going into basketball. First one is we've been talking about all these different events that are kind of being slid in there today. Did you hear about, well, we know that the Eagles and Browns are going to play in Brazil. One, what are your quick thoughts on that before I say the second part?
Cool.
Okay. The second part is they're making that game exclusively on Peacock.
Mm.
The first thing is I don't think people fully realize Taylor Swift played a part in that whole exclusive Peacock. There's no Taylor Swift in that, and it was the Chiefs. You have the Eagles and the Browns, which
Mm-hmm.
is a very different set of teams
Very dynamic.
than a playoff game. Than that the Eagles can bring in people. I don't think people are all saying we're tuning in for the Browns right now.
Uh, I would agree. The only way they would, I think, if Deshaun Watson was the starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And like I I get it that they want to do the international stuff, and it's football, so I'll watch it. But like, do we
It's
have to
going.
send them to Brazil?
I know.
Like, do we have to? Like, that's such a trip too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, going across the seas overseas is a trip too, but like,
Brazil is
really,
farther than London, I'm pretty sure.
do we really need to do this?
Yeah,
Does Brazil really need this?
exactly.
London, do they really need it? Like Germany, whatever. Like I get it. I
Mm-hmm.
understand you want to make the game global. People are watching the game like globally.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like you need to go there. Like, do we need to go to Brazil? Probably
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Right? Like probably not. But I'll watch it. Just like
Uh,
what I don't know what time that would start. Like,
that's a great question.
I mean,
They're
like
partially in the same time zone as us, but not really because they're just south. It's not like you're going ahead or behind. Um, but yeah, and then I know you also on the flip side of that, speaking of the Browns, did you see your boy Jameis praying at the at
what
the
you doing?
wedding? He was saying the prayer at a wedding at
No,
one at a
no,
staff member's wedding.
no, no, no. I did not see that. What was he wearing? What was he wearing?
He was wearing a suit
Okay.
and he was like into it too.
It wasn't like he was taking snaps the other day in like a trench coat,
No, no,
a trench coat and khakis and
no.
yeah,
So it
my
wasn't
man is
that
different, bro.
every single
He's a
time.
different cat,
He's living out every single day
and he is
possible.
he is authentic as they come too.
Mhm.
As Jameis.
So I want to now switch over into basketball. We're going to start with the women's college basketball, and I'll do that quickly. Then we'll go to the men's, and we'll go to the NBA. Today it was announced. Actually, it was an
Oh,
hour ago.
one more thing.
Yeah.
The Jonte Porter news with the Michael Porter Jr.'s brother
Uh-huh.
betting on games. Did you hear about that?
Yo, yes, he is. Yes,
And
yes.
my guy was averaging five, and my guy was like putting up money on lines of like, having 3.5 rebounds a game or like 5.5 rebounds a game. My man checked out like 4 minutes in the game with an eye ache, probably got poked in the eye or something, and then he was ill. Like, yeah, they
He's
just
done.
put out the full story on ESPN.com, so you have to check that out. But that's
But my
another thing
thing
that happened in
is,
the last 24 hours.
it's not, notice it's not the star players that are doing
No,
it. The most
no,
famous clearly was Pete Rose. But that's
yeah,
different. And we can go into that another day. But when it comes to the NBA players and the NFL players, it's never the star. I guess the most popular player might be if he continues his trajectory, Jamison Williams. That might be
sure.
the most popular if he continues.
Oh,
If he just
Calvin Ridley too,
Calvin Ridley, yes,
but he's
because
not.
that
Yeah,
definitely
not
messed him
yet.
up. But also, how much money was Jonte Porter betting? Because Calvin Ridley, I think it was only $1,500 or so.
Bro, it was a sizable amount. It was a sizable amount.
See, yeah,
Like just dumb shit too.
and they all the teams in every sport says we have signs that say don't bet on the games. Like they have this stuff, and they're like, nah, nobody's gonna catch me. Like even yeah. So that was that. For the segue into basketball, so the women's Naismith College Player of the Year finalists have been announced. So it's Cameron Brink, Caitlin Clark, Juju Watkins, Paige Buckers. Personally, I'm gonna be that homer in the room and also be Scrooge. They're gonna go with Caitlin Clark, but I really think a lot more people should look at Juju Watkins. Another thing is, yes, I know Paige Buckers is good, but they have damn near tried to force Paige Buckers into being what she was going to be when she came out of high school. She had the injury and stuff like that. And they're like, yo, you're not going to forget about Paige. Like, we're going to keep bringing Paige up because every single second it's her. And yeah, it's wild. I personally think a
She
lot
also
more
plays for
people.
UConn too, so that helps.
Exactly. It does. And UConn is not what it used to be because I think they're only a 4 seed right now. But all
Which is
four
extremely low.
for women's college basketball, yeah, you definitely but they're in a good spot. For them to be a 4 seed, they can do it. But regular 4 seeds, that's not something we're going to end up seeing. Other thing I want to bring up is did you see Caitlin Clark's dad? So when Caitlin Clark was
I did.
rapping
I
to the
did.
refs, And then
Uh-huh.
Caitlin Clark's dad was like, shut up. That honestly made me love Caitlin Clark even more and Caitlin Clark's dad. Because most players, dads or parents, are not going to tell them shut up.
So I don't know if you were here on Saturday when we talked about this, but I was talking about how college basketball, I think you were here. College basketball needs a villain. Like
Yeah.
men's college basketball needs someone to hate. And it's
Hmm.
usually someone at Duke. And
Hmm.
Kyle Filipowski, you have to be really good. Like you got to be all American status. Tyler Hansbrough, I know he didn't play at Duke. Tyler Hansbrough, the
Yeah.
likes of JJ Redick. Like you had to be that guy, right? People hated Trey Young, he with Oklahoma, like not that big of a school, but like same thing. Um, so like you got like usually it's Duke guys though. Kyle Filipowski, I know he was second team All American, but like he didn't have like that aura about him. This Cooper Flag kid coming in is
Yo,
tall, he's white, he's nice, and he's going to hopefully. Like I hate Duke. I'm a Carolina guy, but hopefully he's an All American like right away, and just like
he,
puts up
yeah.
25 and 12 a game, like Michael Beasley status. Like no one
Hmm.
hated Zion Williams. Zion Williamson was like the best player in the country, all that. No
Hmm.
one hated Zion Williamson. No one's hated anyone on Duke since like, uh, you know, Grayson Allen, but he was legit. He was a legitimate talent. He was tripping people left and right, but like he
Yo,
was
he
legitimate. He was
was.
no reason, and they're all white. Like they're all white. I say all that to say Caitlin Clark has taken on that role. I think.
She has. Yes.
I don't think people would want to admit that, but it's like it's not Angel Reese. Like that's not
No.
she's not the villain. Like Caitlin Clark, I think because she's white, dude. Like
Yeah. That's.
dead ass. I think because she's white, like it's so like there's been a ton of good, really good to like all time great white women's basketball players. Diana Taurasi was a little edgy, but no one hated Brianna Stewart. No one hated any of the other ones that have come through. Diana Taurasi again, a little edgy, but like not really. No one hated Candace Parker.
Mm-mm.
No one hated Brittany Griner really until she went to Russia. But Caitlin Clark is white. She plays for fucking Iowa, of all
That's,
like
yeah,
Iowa,
most
dude, and
random.
she's nice. She hits up, she pulls up from half court like it's nothing. Like I don't, how I feel about women's college basketball, but
Yeah.
I told you before we came on, like I haven't watched any of the tournament. I've seen the highlights, obviously, but I have not sat down and watched it. Now, if they get to when they get to the Final Four and Iowa's there, I don't care who they're playing. We all hope it's South Carolina, but like
Hmm.
I'm going to watch because there's going to be some shenanigans. People talking about the refs. She's like that was a home game, and she was yelling at. I don't know who she was yelling at, but it
Yeah.
was a home game for them.
Yep.
So like she's taking on that villain role, whether people want to believe it or not. Like, but we like that's why people love her because they hate her.
Hmm.
That's just how it goes. Like people love to hate those types of players,
Yeah.
like really good white players.
What are your thoughts on the women's tournament in terms of, so the first and second round, they basically play a home game.
Yeah.
If you're like the higher seed, do you
Yeah.
think that's something that men should do, or is it better how the men's setup is already?
I think that's a good point. That's a good question. I think that would be I think that would be good for them to do because they're just playing at like I know they're playing at larger arenas like the they play at the top of one arena, they'll play at Madison Square Garden later on in the tournament, they'll play at different like NBA arenas. Carolina played in the Hornets arena, so I get that, and it's like they're all obviously much bigger cities,
Hmm.
but I think that would be because you just split it half and half in those types of arenas. Like first round, like if Duke's playing in Cameron, like you split that, give it like half and half. Do
Yeah.
like half Duke and half whoever they're gonna play. San Diego say, I'm just making up a team. So like you do
Hmm.
have, I think that would be great for the sport. That's a really good point actually. The 12 team playoff for the college football coming up this year. The first four teams
That's a
have it
big thing.
by I think like the next highest two or three, four seeds, whatever it is, have home games. So like
Hmm.
Penn State could realistically play a home game in December, which would be like fucking incredible.
Yeah.
But that's a really good point. That they should do that, especially if it's like a place like Cameron or like the Smith Center or whatever. I think that would be pretty dope. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We should try and get traction on that one.
And at this rate, they'll probably slip it in next year, and nobody's even gonna know.
Yeah, they're gonna know.
Uh,
They're gonna hear it from the WGN podcast somehow.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
then they'll
know
take
it.
the idea.
Yeah.
The other part in terms of the women's, and we're going to go to the men. So there was a woman on Rice, don't want to call her out, but she essentially did the regular like John Cena to Angel Reese. They were losing, and all Angel Rice did, because you could tell on Angel Reese, she was so confused. And she just like looked at the scoreboard like, what are you doing?
Like, we're winning, right?
We're winning.
I saw that.
Like, so that was one thing. The final thing I want to bring up is amazing for college basketball. And I think it's what we need in terms of NIL. So Jack Golke, he
Mm-hmm.
has 3 NIL deals. He
Sure.
had the
Of course.
TurboTax one, he had the
Of course.
Buffalo Wild Wings one, and he
Mhm.
just got another one after he finished
Yeah, of
playing in the tournament.
course.
This is money he would not have gotten.
Right. So also like classic, another random white player.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, will he get a shot, or will he get a look at in the league? Probably not. Will
Hmm.
he get a look in the G League? Probably not. But
Hmm.
like my guy can go overseas as well, probably. Like
Yeah.
you don't just randomly hit 10 threes. You know
And
what I mean?
man.
Like you got to be good. Like Penn State had a guy on our team last year, Andrew Funk, who had
Hmm.
8 threes in the first round against Texas A&M. That man was cooking. Now he had like 2 the next game, but regardless, like you can't, like that's just like that's a skill. You're
Hmm.
good at that. He'll get a look at in some pro league. I have to imagine that.
Hmm.
But if not, like I mean, I'm sure the NIL stuff
Yep.
will do something for him, and like he's got his name out there, so like he'll do something. But good for him, dude. Good for
Yeah.
him. That was impressive. That was crazy.
Exactly.
10 threes, dude. Just cooking.
That's not a normal thing.
No.
So I'm happy because those are the best parts about seeing the NIL deals in action.
He plays
Now,
for Oakland.
yeah, no,
Oakland.
nobody was just gonna think about that.
No.
Um, the other part I want to end up bringing up is now going into the NBA, and I have to start with the game that pissed me off because where there's a will, there's a way in terms of sports betting. Because I put a bet on the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
This thing should have hit clean.
Would
They were winning 68-38 in the
that's
second quarter. They lost the game 120 to 118.
so tough.
30 points.
That's tough, dude.
And this is what we're talking about in terms of the NFL is focused on offense so much and the NBA is trying to go back to defense. There's no way in hell you should blow a 30-point lead.
They just stopped. Like
Yes.
you just stop playing. Like you have to just stop playing basketball altogether. Like you got to just let them score in almost every play.
Every
It's
time
so like
30.
I know 30 points in the NBA now is like you can get that within a couple minutes. Not
Yeah.
that big of a lead. But like nonetheless, like 30 points is still 30 points. You
Yes.
still gotta go out and do it and like hit that many shots and do all that. And that's I'm sure I'll hold off on the um comparing this, but like the Houston Texas A&M game the other night, that was a crazy last like 4 minutes.
Yes.
And that's
Hmm.
like it was different because Houston was playing defense and Texas A&M was just hitting crazy shots, but nonetheless, same thing. You still gotta go and do it, and for them to
Yep.
give up a 30 point is
30
man,
points.
that's tough. That is tough to do.
So that was one thing. On the other side, Ramadan Kyrie is different right now. I have never
I mean, it's
seen
got
this
extra
man.
hops
He
during
has
Ramadan.
everything. He also has only in sports can you be focused on your religion and still doing your profession, and they'll have a personal chef for you
Yeah, instead
after
of the
you
Nets giving
finish.
him a banana.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And then you got another team serving you a banana. That's when you know they love you. A
Uh,
personal chef for your vegan foods.
did
After
we
and
talk?
he's
I was like, did we talk about that shot he hit against the Nuggets? Have we talked about that like on the
we
show?
did that was because we said that was really not talked about as much as it should, and
Yeah,
it's one of the best
that
shots.
was pretty nuts. But yeah, Brown on Kyrie, that's funny.
Yo, and then he's dunking, Steven. Luca
Like
and Kyrie are
pops.
dunking. Yes, like getting
Like
up
on an
there.
oop, like on a crazy oop. Yeah,
Yes. And then you see Luca and then Mark Cuban in shock because I'm like, yo,
yeah,
this man's not eating. And
yeah.
he's doing this.
He's a prime athlete, dude. Of course he can do that.
Yes, exactly. And that's what people fail to realize. He just doesn't have to do it, but he has it in him to be able to do that whenever. And so now I brought up Dallas because I want to go into the elephant that's going to be in the room the next couple of months and what I continue to bring up that play in tournament.
Mhm.
So those four. I don't really give a damn about the East because more than likely it's going to be the Heat and the Sixers.
Yeah.
First off, the Sixers have had a fall from grace that nobody's ever seen. Ever since Embiid got injured, that fall from grace is insane. But I want to just talk about the West
Mm-hmm.
because it keeps going back and forth. And that's what's pissing me off because the Kings have to fall into that 7 to 10, and the Mavericks and the Suns just don't want it to happen. But you have the Mavericks, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Warriors. Other part to that is any of these, sorry, the number 7 seed or the number 8 seed, the Mavericks or the Suns, can easily jump to number 4 if any of them catch fire. Because number 4 is 6.5 games back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 7 and 8, they're 8.5 and 9 games back. So they can really do it. The only two, and the Warriors can't fuck around anymore because they're right next to the Houston Rockets.
Rockets.
So, and that's kind of one of my things I'll say at the end about the Houston Rockets. But just tell me your thoughts on 7 through 10 right now.
I mean, that's like I said last week, those 4 teams right now, as it would play, the Mavs, Suns, Lakers, and the Warriors. Who plays who? Dallas plays Phoenix, and then the Lakers and the Warriors play. And the winner of that game plays the winner of the Dallas Phoenix series game.
I have no clue how
I'm
this.
pretty sure that's how it goes, or it's some
Yeah.
variation like that where. Yeah, I think it's 7 versus 8. The winner is the 7th seed, and then 9, 10
Yeah.
play. Winner of that game plays
The loser.
the loser of the Phoenix. Oh yeah, okay, cool. We said it before. This would be really, really, really great basketball between four teams who have like top 10 players on their team. Mavs, Suns. We know the history with that. And the Lakers have AD and LeBron. Lakers have just been a mystery all season. They're not going to do anything because Darvin Ham's still on the sideline. But LeBron's not playing tonight. They're getting beat by 16 right now or 17 right now to the Bucks. They play back to back though, so they're Memphis tomorrow night. I mean like Lakers in 4 as always. Lakers in 5. But that's gonna be really great basketball. That's like a must win for every team. So I think that'd be really great basketball, and I think the NBA wants that. Like they don't want the Kings in there. Like no, fuck the Kings. They want to have, because as it would stand, the season today, the Kings would play the T-Wolves in a 6 format, in a 6-3 matchup, which would be like 2 young up and coming teams, like that type of stuff. And the league wants that rather than.
But Steven, the league wants that, but the world won't even know half the players in that game.
Sure. Yeah, true hoopers will appreciate that because it'd be a great series. But like, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. But the league does want this tournament, this playing tournament, to be the Mavs, Suns, Lakers, and Warriors. That's like that's for like the old heads of the league with Draymond, Steph, Durant, LeBron, and then like the young guy with Luka. Obviously, he's got Kyrie in there, but yeah, that like I would look forward to that. And I just looked at the East as you were talking about that. The Heat, Sixers, Bulls, Hawks. Like that's why the league needs the West to finish this way. Because the East is going to be fucking garbage. That's so awful. No. And then that's this like the Celtics can't trust them. The Bucks, I feel like they're just like
they're 10.5 games back.
Cavaliers, Knicks, no. Magic, no. Pacers, what? If this is like the East of old, yeah, it's gonna be fantastic, but it's not. Like I don't trust any of those teams to do anything. And again, Heat, Sixers, Bulls, Hawks, tragic.
One thing I will say, and a lot of people try to always argue against this, but the Boston Celtics are 38-8 in their conference. Think about the teams that they get to play. You have played 46 games against your conference, and you are 10.5 games better than the second best team. That should tell you everything you need to know. They are 45 games better than the worst team on that side.
That sucks, man. That's crazy.
So the Celtics honestly have to prove it. You can get but so many chances. On the flip side to it, the Nuggets, they keep talking about Jokic. Jokic, how many MVPs can you keep giving him with him not having anything else to show for it? But on the flip side, that's when people need to realize it's not a playoff type of trophy. it's a
Right.
regular season, and they
Right.
want to make it this playoff thing. So he can be the best regular season player ever if he really wants to be.
Well, it's like Lamar Jackson, you
Yeah,
know,
they're the same thing.
go do something.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part because they can be these regular season greats and keep winning MVPs, and people technically can't say anything because then you're making this into a whole different criteria
Mhm.
for it. So we're gonna finish it up, and then I just have a couple of finance things because your boy's gonna be in New York next week, and then we'll end up finishing with our new segue and stuff that we have. First thing is CLSK in terms of stocks. They are sitting at $23. I've been mentioning this since it was $14 a share. So pay attention to that. Another one Steven's going to get annoyed with. So the ticker is WIF, WIF. It stands for dog with hat. They currently are sitting at over a $2.5 billion market cap.
Of course.
And they're sitting at over $3. Predictions and charts that I've started to look at have it going up to at least $10. Only in crypto, these type of things happen. Jupe, aka Jupiter, which is a decentralized exchange on Solana, they are sitting at over $1.30, which puts them at over a $1.5 billion market cap. So that's something that's big. It's one of my biggest bags that I have, and hoping that that's going to let me go on an island somewhere if I keep up with that one. Final one, NFT NYC. So that's next week. I am going on Thursday, and I'll be back on Saturday from it. So I'll let everyone know about that one. Not doing the yacht party that they have on Wednesday. Honestly, don't think I need to end up going to that. When I did 2 years ago, and that joint was just packed with people just standing around.
Yeah, that was
So
funny.
those, yeah, so that was the only thing I think I missed, being able to live stream it as I was walking there and just kind of sitting in line.
Everyone,
Yeah.
ever.
So that was that. But speaking of yachts, we're going to go into the boat situation that happened earlier for a new, I guess, segment that we're going to call it. So
Uh-huh.
it's called Black, White, or Other.
Okay.
And we're going to do it off of the first one, off of what happened earlier today. So everyone knows the whole Baltimore Key Bridge that happened. And what they don't realize is it was only construction workers mainly that were on the bridge. And two or three of them,
Other. I know where you're going with this.
I don't think you do. And
Okay.
two or three of them fell in, well, a bunch of them fell into the
Oh,
water.
yeah.
Two or three were rescued so far. And then one of them, they said, was rescued, but did not want any medical care and just brushed himself off and said he wants to just go home. And if anyone follows me on Twitter, they already know who I chose.
Yeah.
But do you think this was a black person, a white person, or other?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And process of elimination should easily be able to eliminate one of them.
Okay. All right. So since you're asking me this one first, I'm gonna go. It was, and I don't know this. I'm gonna go black person.
Okay, so that's what I'm predicting as well. And the key points are Steven and I both are from the area. So we know the different type of people. They said Baltimore. They're not talking about like Canton or even
Baltimore.
Columbia. They're talking Baltimore. So then you have to think about the construction workers that are going to say, nah, I'm working overnight as well, 3 o'clock in the morning to get this paper. That's exactly how I'm going with this. And I put it online, and like a couple of people started liking it. And anyone that's from the area knows damn well that that's probably the direction it is. So I'm gonna have more for next time, but I wanted to start off with this one because it was an easy alley-oop that was just right there for me. Of no, they didn't say who the individual was, but we all can pretty much assume who this individual was. So
His
he
arm
said,
is just
"I'm
hanging.
good.
He's like, "No, I'm good, bro. I gotta go finish the
I'm going
job."
home.
Go, bro.
I'm going home." He just fell into the water. They got him
Bro, like
out, and he said,
hundreds of feet, probably.
right? Like it was nothing. Just said, all right, yeah, no, I'm out of here. Then he'll probably try and show up tomorrow or something, be like, let's go. What? No, we can't
Oh
do that.
man, that's
So
funny.
before we go into what you got for today, I have to bring up the other elephant in the room that's been happening. And Jalen Green has been balling. And through this time he has been balling, you have started to hear about more kids that he is having
Yes,
during this process.
every
It
week,
started off
every
with
game.
one, then we heard about a second, and now we're hearing about a third. And everyone's putting the pieces together of, oh, this man is showing out because he needs to make this money.
Gotta get that
for
child
it.
support.
Exactly. And you also know in some of these contracts, you have incentives. So he is trying to find a way to probably hit every single incentive possible because these women that he is with having these kids are not going to ask for $1. They're going to ask for way more than $1 with a couple of zeros on the end of it. So that's everything I got. What you got for everyone?
I am looking forward to some of these Sweet 16 games.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that Carolina Bama game. I think that's going to be a very high scoring game. I got to apologize to Clemson because I was not familiar with their game.
Yeah, I know.
I said that I did not trust Clemson basketball in any capacity, and now they're in the Sweet 16 against Arizona, Caleb Love, Tennessee Creighton. That should be a pretty solid game. Purdue Gonzaga, I really wanted it to be
I was just
Kansas because I
looking at
really
that.
wanted to see Zach Edey versus Hunter Dickinson, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, two borderline blue bloods, I guess. Both teams super consistent over the last, at least as long as we've been watching college basketball. So we'll see if it's finally Purdue's year and they can make another run, but I don't trust them. NC State,
Yo, they've been doing
they're
good.
technically the Cinderella team, although they're really good. They have a lot of confidence right now. Big man's doing work down there.
My man
Houston
Burns.
Duke, yes. Houston Duke should be a really good game as well.
Yeah.
I was really hoping Houston was going to blow it against Texas A&M, but obviously they prevailed in overtime. But yeah, that should be another good one. See what Cal Filipowski can do as the guy. But I think UConn runs away with it against San Diego State. Illinois, Iowa State, two different offenses. But I think the Bama Carolina game and the Marquette NC State game are going to be the best games of the weekend. But other than that, yeah, should be good. I also forgot that it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
That's dope. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and also shout out to your boy for coming over this
Shout
last
out.
weekend.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Good looks. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
So I got two things. One, the first one is Arizona are still in it. I'm sticking with this narrative. So the same way Steven has his narratives and then has a whole outline as to why he believes that narrative, this is how I feel about Arizona. I really think certain players just have this thing inside of them that they're like, nah, I'm about to just show I really want to play North Carolina. And I don't think he wants anything else but North Carolina right now.
Nope.
I can see them trying to steamroll Clemson. It might not happen because Clemson's been doing good. The other one I just have to talk about is UConn. UConn reminds me of South Carolina in women's. They really don't care about anybody else.
Nope.
They're just trying to get to that one place, and that's the championship game. So those are like the two that I'm looking forward to, and they're both on Thursday. So that kind of does help because I don't have to wait. Whereas Steven and the squad, we were talking about it on Saturday. Why the hell did they set the games up that way? Like you had two games.
But then they did it exactly how they should have done it the next day, where first game was like 12:15, and the next game was like 2:40. So like you have it like it's right there. Yeah, that was stupid. Hated that.
Yeah. So last thing I'll end up talking about, it's not really a shout out, but it's what I have. So on my job, I'm in charge of finance. A lot of people started to know that. We're working on our trip to go to Sweden. I can't say the name because I know some of the people are going to start listening to this because they always ask me what I'm doing. And in order for us to work with the travel agent, they ask us to submit all our information in a Microsoft Word document, credit card information, passport number, frequent flyer miles, everything. We send it back to the lady in an email. And I told my boss, I was like, I don't think in this day and age we need to be doing that because what if this email goes to the wrong person? They have our information. And then they come to me and say, well, Christian, that's why we have you. We want you to kind of look into different portals to see if we can make our software better. So what were you going to do if you didn't have me? Y'all were just going to keep just putting the information out there.
Yeah, shout out to the homie though for
So
making a name for himself already.
yeah, so shout
Big
out. But
dog.
other than that, we'll be back next week. Until then, we out.
Peace.